today, what we are going to be doing, the agenda. First, we're going to be looking at the best ways to start making money on Amazon in 2025, right? Because these things do change over time. Things like wholesale arbitrage were very, very popular and very, very effective, I think, pre-COVID, pre-2020. But nowadays, the model has changed, and those kind of business models are very, very competitive, right? Definitely, they can still work. There are a lot of people that find success in them. But me personally, I found that the most profit that you can make generally tends to be through private label, right? So that is what we're going to be focusing on today in terms of how to actually make the most money using private label as a business model, right? Now, another thing we're going to be touching on today as well is how to actually get reviews on your new private label listing, right? So when you publish a new listing on Amazon, especially a new ASIN, when you're the owner, because you've just published that, it's going to have no history and no reviews on them whatsoever. Now, I guess a lot of you here watching will be shoppers on Amazon yourself, right? Whether you've started selling on Amazon yet or not, either way, I'm guessing you've shopped on Amazon before. Now, how many of you here have actually bought a product on Amazon that has no reviews, right? Nobody does that because you have no idea whether they're going to be any good or not. So what we're going to do is start by looking at how to get those first few reviews onto your Amazon product listing to just get the ball rolling, right? Now, with that as well, we are going to be focusing on not just finding that first product to start selling on Amazon FBA in terms of private label, but we are also going to be looking at how to add more products onto your private label brand and scale you up to that £10,000 in sales as quick as possible, right? Now, this, as I say, is all done from my own experience. You're going to be learning here from my own experiences, but also my own mistakes in not just learning to save money and start selling on Amazon in a way that's cheaper, but also when you are selling, you're going to be making more money as well, right? So we're going to be using a lot of the tips and tricks that I've learned over the last few years to make sure that this is all going to be as useful as possible in 2025 specifically, right? Now, we are also going to be touching on a few key things that you need to be considering when you start a private label business selling on Amazon. So, specifically for protecting your profit margin and how to grow. And also with that, you're going to be considering how to actually protect your brand along the way, right? So with that, as we get started, just to introduce a little about myself. My name's Neil Mayani, as I say. I started my own brand of products on Amazon called Proxnova in 2017. And as I say, that was private label. And with that, Proxnova was specifically a motion sensor security light company, right? However, I started by trying to sell a few other different types of products in the beginning, right? And by the way, I didn't come straight to private label. I tried things that you guys have all heard of. I tried things like arbitrage, wholesale. I tried a few other different business models, but none of those things worked out. I even tried drop shipping. A lot of those weren't so sustainable or profitable for me. And so when I came across private label, I found that it was extremely profitable compared to everything else that I tried, right? So from there onwards, I decided to just stick with private label. At the time, I was working full time in a warehouse, which was pretty grim. Actually, it was the worst job that I could have imagined at the time. And I was looking for any type of business model or situation to escape that job that I hated so much. So that was why I was trying to start selling on Amazon in the first place, right? A lot of you, I guess, will be in a very similar sort of situation. You are trying to start selling on Amazon because you hate your job, right? I was in the exact same place. I totally get where you're at. And I also understand that, like me, a lot of you won't have a lot of spare cash to be throwing away, to be burning on, trying 1,000 products that might not work, right? So you really want to be making your budget as efficient as possible to get the best outcome, right? So I totally understand because I've been there. Now, when I started my private label brand Proxnova in 2017, as I say, selling motion sensor security lights, that was so much more sustainable and profitable than anything else that I'd ever tried that I was able to leave my job and focus on Proxnova full time. From there to 2022, I managed to scale the business to 7 figures and sold it just over 2 years ago now. And during that sales process, I decided to start another 2 brands alongside it, right? So one of them was in fashion eyewear, and the other one was in builders hardware. So parts for windows and doors, not windows and doors themselves, but some of the parts that tend to break quite often on windows and doors are some of the things that I sell, right? So With that, the second time round with these two new brands on private label, I found it was far quicker, easier, cheaper, and way less stressful for me the first time, this time around, than it was for me the first time, right? Simply because I knew exactly what to do. There's no trial and error involved, there's no guesswork. And I knew exactly the path to be taking to grow this private label business on Amazon as quickly as possible. So those are some of the tips that I'm going to be sharing with you today, guys, right? Now, I got into the coaching space because during this second phase of Amazon FBA private label, when I started these other two brands, a few close friends and family members asked me that, could you show me how to create my own brand and business on Amazon in the same way you have? And so I did. And it only took about 3 or 4 times of doing this before I found that the system that I was teaching to these family and friends was far more effective than I originally thought. Right? These family and friends were doing way better than I thought they would do initially. And so I started off offering out this one-to-one coaching to more than just the people that I knew. And that's what's turned into my coaching program, which I've entitled The Money Machine, right? Now, with that, roughly about 95 people have been through that program to this date, and every single person that's actually completed that process is still within e-commerce and growing more and more profitable to this day, right? Because what I found from my own experiences within education, from being a kid in school and in university and things like that, which I never even completed, uh, the best way to learn anything is to actually learn by doing and building it at the same time, rather than just learning and then applying that knowledge later on, right? So with everything that we're going to be learning to do here, we are going to be actually learning how to action everything we're doing too, so that you can build the business at the same time as learning, right? Because that is absolutely crucial. Now, as we move forward, the first thing you want to start considering when you go to start your private label Amazon business is product research, right? Or also known as product hunting. Now, when it comes to finding a good product, you can use tools like AMZScout, which are absolutely excellent for helping you find a product in quite an economic fashion, because there are a lot of other tools out there that can help you find a product, but they're very, very expensive, right? And also some of the minimum terms to sign up are not even cheap themselves. So, with AMZScout, you can do this really on a very tight budget. So when it comes to, as I say, product research, this is something that you're definitely going to be using something like AMZScout for. Now, product research is absolutely crucial because no matter how great your logo, your branding, your images, your keywords, your ads, no matter how great all of that stuff is, if the product that you're selling is something that is not in demand, not of a unique niche, and something that people don't want, you're going to struggle to sell it either way, right? The best way to be successful at selling a product within the private label space, and I think in general, is selling something that is in demand, of good quality and unique niche, right? So when we do our product research, those are the three things that we're actually going to be keeping in mind completely, right? So when I say it needs to be in demand, we're looking for something that has decent search volumes, right? So I'm going to show you how to see search volumes for a particular type of product as we go through this and use the AMZScout tool. But really, the first thing you're wanting to do, as I say, is make sure there's actually demand for that product. Make sure people actually want it, because you're going to struggle to sell stuff that people are initially already looking for, right? Now, the second thing to consider is making sure it's in a unique niche, right? When you're looking for products, sure, a product can be easily in demand. An easy example of that is iPhone charging cables, right? Now, that is not a unique niche, so it's still going to fail. So not only do you need to make sure that this product is in demand, but you need to make sure that the entire world is not selling this product. And it's not the kind of product that everyone has thought of off the top of their head, right? So for example, off the top of my head, I can think of some ideas that you can rule out straight away, right? So iPhone charging cables, smartphone cases, yoga mats, water bottles, reed diffusers, selfie sticks. If any of those ideas are things that you've thought of in the first place, then you should get those out of your mind completely, right? You're looking to think a bit further outside the box than that. Now, when it comes to being something as of good quality, the reason that is important is because even if you, as I say, got something that's in demand and a unique niche, and you found that really good combination, that is excellent. However, if the product itself is falling apart upon first use or doesn't actually do what it's supposed to do, you're going to get a ton of negative reviews, right? No matter how often you remake your listing and try and get as many reviews onto your listing in the way that I'm going to show you, that is all going to work fine. But if you sell a product which is misdescribed or is not of good quality at all, it doesn't do what it's supposed to, then you're going to get a ton of negative reviews. So those three things are really important, right? So note those down. It needs to be in demand, of a unique niche, and it also needs to be of good quality, right? That will make your private label brand selling on Amazon stand the test of time, right? So the next thing you do from product research, after you found a good product to start selling, the next place you'd be going to would be to actually find a supply for that product. Usually, most people are going to be using Alibaba for private label, right? There's also an extension on the AMZScout app that will show you, a potential supply for products that you find that are in demand as well. So that can also cut out that bit of, searching for you. So once you found that supplier, one tip that you guys really, really, really need to know is, let's say you found a brilliant product, right? You found a great supplier, the prices are good. The last thing you want to do is jump in head first and buy 500 or 1,000 units, right? Because you have no idea whether any of those products that you're testing out are actually going to work out in real life or not until you test them, right? So you don't want to test the market with 500 or 1,000 units, because if it doesn't work out the way you expect it to, you're going to be lumbered with 500 or 1,000 units, and you're not going to be able to sell them. So if you can't sell those units, if all of your capital is locked up into the stock for buying those units and you can't get it back, then what are you going to do? Your budget is now gone. It's all locked up into that stuff that can't sell. So really avoid doing that, right? Instead, what I want you guys to be doing is buying just 10 or 20 samples, right? When you buy those 10 or 20 samples, it's going to cost a bit more in terms of the unit price, and it's going to cost more in terms of shipping per unit, right? But that is totally fine, because those first 10 or 20 units are there for you to actually prove that you can sell those products on Amazon before buying more, right? That is one of the biggest rookie errors that kill most Amazon businesses. In fact, I'd say 99% of Amazon businesses that fail because they dive in headfirst and buy loads of stock of an item before seeing if they can sell them. And then when it doesn't go the way you expect it to go, you realize that you probably shouldn't have done that. However, it's too late because your budget's already gone, right? So don't be one of those people that falls into that trap. Make sure that you actually look for a product and then test it out first in 10 or 20 units before buying hundreds or thousands of units, right? That is definitely something that you want to be doing. And as I say, the reason for that is, if you can't sell 20 units, how the hell will you sell 500 or 1,000, right? So now, once you have found a supplier for that product and you've bought a test amounts of 10 or 20 samples, you can actually launch that product on Amazon FBA, right? So you can actually create a listing for that product, make that listing look really nice. So, really nice images, great keywords. So, some really good high traffic keywords scattered through your listing, a good page design. So using things like A+ content, and finally, a good few reviews as well, right? So once you've got those 4 things in place, you can actually get them all in place with your samples, right? So you go and find a product idea, find that supplier on Alibaba, and then buy just a small number of samples, 10 or 20 samples. And once you have those samples, you can actually launch that product on Amazon with just those 10 or 20 samples, right? Now, when you do that, as I say, you're not going to be making money. You're just going to be proving that you can sell those products. Now, once you've sold those 10 or 20 samples, you're going to have a better idea of how well they sell, right? So for example, did it take you 2 months to sell 10 products? If it did, then it's probably not the right product, right? Or, did it take you tons and tons of cash advertising that product to sell it? Again, it probably isn't the right product, right? So what that data that you're going to extrapolate from those 10 or 20 samples is going to be very, very useful for you in order to tell you what to do next. Should you buy more or should you not? Now, that is a much cheaper mistake to make than buying 1,000 units, right? So if you are going to be yielding anything from this one slide, make sure to definitely be focusing on finding a product, but then testing out in a small quantity first, so that you don't actually, blow all of your budget in one product idea and it doesn't work out the way you expected it to, right? Now, when we move on, what we are looking to do is actually start through this process, and it is called the money machine, right? So this process, as I say, is going to take you from absolutely no experience to launching your own brand of products on Amazon, even if you have no idea what to sell yet, right? So this is, as I say, specifically for Amazon private label. Now, this is known as a 90-day Amazon seller launch program. And 90 days is a guideline, not a deadline. And it's there to manage expectations as to how long it'll take you to get most of that business infrastructure into place. However, I've known people to do this in 30 days. I've known people to take 6 months, a year. Everyone's going to have their own different pace. I understand that a lot of you have your own jobs, your own careers, your own family going on in the background. I understand that everyone's going to have their own different pace. So all of the information that you have access to within the money machine once you're signed up is going to be there for life, right? So you're going to have access to that forever. Now, with that, the money machine in and of itself is going to consist of 20 progressive modules, right? And those modules are going to take you along a pathway from A to Z that's designed to be as quick, easy, cheap, and least stressful possible, right? Now, each and every single one of those progressive 20 modules is going to be consisting of 3 elements. So the first element is going to be a concept. That's going to work a little bit like a driving theory book, right? In black and white, you're going to be told exactly what you need to know. The second part is going to be a demonstration, because just like learning to drive, I bet none of you guys learned to drive from a theory book or a guidebook, right? You still had some practical time behind the wheel in driving lessons. So within that demonstration, you're going to be shown what you should be doing in real life. So live on a Zoom screen share, just like this, I'd open up the AMZScout or the Amazon marketplace and do that product research in front of you, so you can actually see what you're supposed to be doing in real life, right? So that'll be the second step. Now, the third step to this is going to be implementation, because with all of the knowledge in the world from that concept and demonstration, that's all going to be completely useless unless you're combining it with action, right? So every single thing we're going to do along the way here with the money machine, you're going to learn and do, learn and do, learn and do all the way through, so that by the end of this process, you're going to have a fully functioning, profitable business and not just a head full of knowledge, right? Now, with that, that is the other reason why every single person that's completed this process is still within e-commerce and growing more and more profitable to this day, because the whole function of the money machine, as I say, is to build that business at the same time as learning, right? So it's really important for you guys to note that the system we're going through here is not just to learn, it's to actually create at the same time, right? Now, this type of system with the money machine is mainly made for someone who's got roughly 5 hours a week to invest in growing a business, right? Now, 5 hours a week, that's not really a tall order, if I'm honest. Like, if there is something that you want out of life, I don't think 5 hours a week is a long time. I mean, like, if you're looking to get fit and go to the gym, you're probably going to spend 5 hours a week doing that. If you want to learn a new skill, if you want to do anything, you're probably going to spend a minimum of 5 hours per week doing it, right? So, that's an average of 1 hour per day during the working week, or even less than an hour per day if you spread it out over 7 days, right? 5 hours per week. You should hope, if you are looking to start a side hustle, particularly in Amazon, you should expect to be spending around 5 hours per week minimum. Now, as I say, 5 hours per week can get you quite far, but you should be considering this not just as a side hustle, but as a new business to be starting, right? Because when you consider a business as a side hustle, what happens is just that term side hustle, just the idea of side hustle, it sounds so casual. It sounds like this is like my optional thing that I might do, I might not, kind of like out of choice, right? That's not what we're looking for at all, right? I've never heard of anyone becoming very, very successful from a side hustle until they started treating it like a business, right? So you need to start treating this like a secondary job. So, in the same way that if you needed to do some tasks for your day job, by the end of the day, you would get them done, right? So you need to look at this in the exact same way. If you take this seriously, you can find serious success in it. If you are casual about this, your results will be casual, right? Just like anything, exactly the same way that I mentioned before, fitness, right? If you take your fitness casually, you're going to get mediocre results. Whereas if you take it seriously, you're going to get quite a lot more dramatic results. So 5 hours per week, you should expect to be your minimum to actually invest in any business, whatever you're starting, whether it's FBA or anything else, right? Now, this is the type of business, especially within Amazon private label, where you're looking to be investing roughly $3,000 to $5,000. Now, with that $3,000 to $5,000, you're not looking to be investing that straight away, right? You don't need to have that entire budget in hand to begin with. The reason for that is using this method of private label that I've actually developed over time to launch products more economically. What you're going to be doing from the beginning is testing out a few different ideas that you can see potential in, as I say, in very, very low volumes, roughly 10 or 20 samples per product. And then you're going to let the market dictate to you which is the best product to commit your resources to. And only once you've got that proof of concept are you going to funnel the rest of your resources towards that one product idea, right? And only once you've got that proof of concept are you going to start using the rest of your budget. In that beginning phase, that testing phase, you're not going to use very much of that budget at all because you're buying such low volumes. Only once you have that proof of concept are you going to funnel the rest of your resources towards that one idea, right? And the reason for that is even with all of the tools in the world, as I say, you have no idea whether this product's going to work out in real life or not until you test it, right? These tools can really cut down the margin of error. You know, AMZScout is absolutely excellent for giving you an idea of what is actually selling and what's in demand and what has a lot of competition and what doesn't. However, testing things out in the market in real life is the only way to actually really know whether something's going to work out, right? Now, as I say, this 3 to 5K budget, being a product-based business, most of that budget is going to go on the purchase of stock in order to be able to sell it, right? However, that 3 to 5K budget that I recommend would include all your other admin costs as well, right? So things like trademarks, design rights, any coaching fees, any subscriptions to research softwares would all be included within that recommended $3,000 to $5,000, right? So with that, as I say, if you feel like you could save up, say, $3,000 to $5,000 over the coming 4 to 6 months, you're good to go, right? Because you're not going to be using that entire budget to begin with in hand. Now, the best thing about starting this Amazon seller business is it works for almost anybody, right? Now, I'm sure there's a big mix of you guys here today in the audience watching this. I'm sure some of you are students, some of you are looking to start a side hustle. You're not necessarily students, but you're looking to make a change. You've been in a career or a job for a long time and you're kind of sick of that job and you want to start something else. You want some freedom away from your employer. There are some people as well who've started selling on Amazon and just haven't found success with it. Or some people have been trying Amazon for a while but just can't get profitable. So these are all the kinds of people that I think this could be working perfectly well for, because whether you've got no experience or a little bit of experience, we're looking to actually start you as a blank slate and really get you to start growing this Amazon business in a way that has worked for me and many other people that I've taught as well, right? This is going to be an active investment in yourself, because with that, once you learn how to build the infrastructure for your Amazon private label business, it's going to be very easy for you to keep expanding and growing that business, right? So when you start selling on Amazon, the first thing you're going to do is hopefully open a company. Most of you, if you're going to be approaching this, as I say, seriously and not treating it like a side hustle, if you're going to treat this like a serious business, like a serious venture, I really want you to be opening a company first, right? Whatever state you're in, whether you're in Europe, USA, UK, you should really be registering a corporation or a company, right? That's the first thing you want to do. The second thing you're going to do immediately after opening that corporation or company is you want to start to open a bank account for that company, right? A high street bank account that everyone's heard of. Now, with that, that's going to mean that you are no longer trading as yourself, but you're trading through a company, and that company bank account means that the money that's being paid to that company is going to the company and not you, right? Those are two prerequisites to setting up a professional seller account in the name of a company on Amazon, right? So once you've got that company or corporation open up a bank account for that company, and then you're going to open up an Amazon seller account, right? Now, once you've opened up the Amazon seller account in the name of your corporation or company, you're then going to register a brand to that corporation or company. So you're going to register a trademark. So for example, my trademark was Proxinova, and that was registered to my limited company, right? So the owner of that trademark was my limited company. And once you've done that, you can apply for something called Amazon Brand Registry. And once you have applied for Amazon Brand Registry, what you are going to be able to do is start listing products in the name of that brand, right? So the first time you're going to have to set up all these things, the corporation, the bank account, the Amazon seller account, the trademark, then the brand registry. But once you've done that the first time, you can just keep launching more and more products on the same Amazon seller account through the same brand, right? So this investment in yourself to get that first product launched might seem difficult, but let's say, for example, it takes you 90 days to launch your first product, right? Because you've had to set up all these things, like, as I say, the corporation, the bank account, the seller account, everything to do with branding. But once you've set that all up once and you've launched your first product, let's say in 90 days, you could launch your second product a week later, and your third product a week after that, and a week after that, and a week after that. And you can start launching more products together. So 3 products at the same time, for example, right? So this is really about building that infrastructure for you to keep launching more products off of. And the fact is, the more products you launch, the more likely you are to find a really, really good product, right? It's just the laws of probability. If you launch 20 products, almost by sheer luck, you're likely to find one of those products will probably be at least okay, if not quite good, right? So with that, having that infrastructure in place is going to be really, really helpful and help you find that success in selling on Amazon, particularly in private label, a lot quicker, right? When we start doing that product research, the first thing we want to start considering is, just as I said from the beginning, just like my first mistake, you want to avoid looking for things that are too simple and obvious that everyone's thought of them, right? So as I say, just like my first mistake, iPhone charging cables, yoga mats, water bottles, reed diffusers, smartphone cases, selfie sticks, the sorts of thing everyone thinks of at first, we want to think a bit further outside the box now, right? Now, the second thing to consider is you're not looking for something that's so complicated it's likely to go wrong and be returned. So almost like the opposite consideration of the first thing. So you're not looking for something that's so simple, everyone's thought of it, but also not so complicated it's likely to go wrong and be returned, right? You're looking for something in that middle ground. So when I say something that's so complicated it's likely to go wrong and be returned, I'm talking about things like Wi-Fi video doorbells, cameras, headphones, speakers, the sorts of things people are likely to be picky about. Open the packaging up, say, I don't really like this, stuff it back in the packaging and return it, right? Simply because that is very likely to happen on high priced items and high complexity items. So really, we want this to be not something that's so complicated it's likely to go wrong and be returned, but also not something so simple and obvious that everyone's already thought of it. Something right in the middle there. Now, we are looking for something that retails between the prices of $15 and $35. The reason we keep 15 on your lower end of your price point is because your profit margins within a $15 product is going to be around 25, let's say, even if you're lucky, 30%, right? So, research shows that on average, you're going to be looking to start with private label at around 25 to 30% profit margin, right? So if you're selling a $5 product at 25% profit margin, even if you sell that product, how many units of that product do you have to sell before you've made enough profit to even cover your morning cup of coffee at Starbucks, right? Quite a few. Whereas if you're selling a a $15 product at a 25% margin, that's a bit more of a significant profit, right? Okay, I mean, with Starbucks prices nowadays, you might still have to sell a few of those. But even so, that margin is significantly bigger. It's very difficult to scale with dollar margins. Whereas when you talk about $3, $4 margins, that makes it much easier to scale, right? Now, the reason we keep $35 as our upper limit, by the way, I've changed that from £30 to $35 just to convert the currencies there. But with that $35 upper limit, the reason $35 is the upper limit is because most products that sell on Amazon tend to be priced 30 and below, right? The products that sell most frequently in the highest volume tend to be priced $35 and below. And in fact, I challenge you guys to look at your own Amazon purchase history, right? Look over the last year or two. How many products yourself have you bought that are priced higher than $35? Probably not that many, right? A lot of the purchases that you're going to be making online, particularly on Amazon, tend to be priced $35 and below, right? Again, a lot of research has gone into finding that price point, and it does tend to work very well between $15 and $35, right? So with that, you're looking to find a product with these three basic considerations, right? Not so simple and obvious that everyone's thought of it, not so complicated it's likely to go wrong and be returned, and retails between $15 and $35. Now, as we go through this, one of the best things that you're going to be able to use is the AMZScout Pro AI extension, right? So this is going to actually be collating a lot of data in the background to calculate certain things that metrics won't be showing you, right? So for example, as we can see here, a lot of trends, sales volumes, and quality of competition, that is something that can be tangibly worked out with numbers, but a lot of tools don't really work those out so well. And there are a lot of different data points to be put together that are not really easy to make a good picture of this. But from my opinion, the picture of particularly the quality of competition that we find with the Pro AI extension is really, really good, right? Now, the other thing that this Pro AI extension will do is it will make it much, much easier to start estimating your FBA costs. Now, one of the biggest things that people trip up on are, well, I'd actually say there are three things that most people trip up on when it comes to selling on Amazon, right? So the first thing, as I've already gone on about, is product research, right? Because if you've not got a product that's of good quality, unique, niche, and in demand, everything else is not going to matter, right? The second thing really tends to be not understanding FBA costs, right? Not understanding that there is a separate Amazon fee and FBA cost. A lot of people don't realize that for some reason, right? So using the Pro AI extension, it will break down those costs for you. So you can actually see that if you sold a price for X amount, this is the amount that you're going to be paid out, right? Now, the third thing that most people mess up on, if you haven't already guessed it, is PPC, right? With PPC, a lot of people end up selling a really good product, selling loads and loads of units and making really, really good sales. However, they spent tons and tons of money on PPC and they've not made any profit. In fact, they've probably lost money, right? So the third thing that you really want to be considering definitely is PPC. So with PPC, we are going to be using the reverse ASIN lookup to make sure that you're getting good keywords for your PPC campaigns, and that can really help avoid losing money on PPC, right? Now, the next part of this as well to be considering is the insights as well. So a lot of these insights from the AI Pro extension is going to be allowing you to see strengths and weaknesses within certain product opportunities in terms of the variations of products, right? So these tools will be looking at the different kinds of products that are already available. It will be looking at the descriptions and keywords to see exactly what the products are. It'll also be looking at the reviews as well on the Amazon marketplace to see what kind of products have, what kind of certain product opportunities or certain product subcategories have a limited number of offerings or have lots of negative reviews, right? Because that will suggest if a product subcategory has a limited number of offerings, it means there are a lot of opportunities there that haven't been tapped into, right? And also, when you can see that there are products that have a lot of negative reviews, it shows that there are products that are there to clearly be improved, right? So those two things are absolutely crucial because finding products that have limited variations means that you can actually bring something new to the market and something interesting, right? Now, one little secret about product insights, identifying strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities, right? When there are subcategories with very, very limited choices of offerings, what you'll find is if you can offer something a little bit different, you don't have to be reinventing the wheel or inventing a new product or anything like that. All you have to do is sell a product that is the same as the other popular selling products in your subcategory and has the same design features and design spec that those popular products have, all come together in a way that simply looks a bit different to the other products selling on Amazon. That can be more than enough to find a really successful selling opportunity, right? So when we are talking about identifying strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, we're not talking about inventing a new product to plug that gap. We are really just talking about a product that looks a little bit different, right? That's all this really, really comes down to is finding a product that looks a bit different. Because when it looks a bit more different and a little bit more interesting, people are more likely to click it. It's a bit more unique, and people are going to buy it because they think, hey, this looks interesting, right? That is really all it takes. Now, with the product improvement as well, this will, as I say, look very much at the product reviews on certain ASINs and see, there are a lot of products within this subcategory that have 4 stars, right? So a lot of the products in the top 100 have 4 stars, meaning that there is room for improvement. There seems to be a demand or a thirst for a product which will be above 4 stars, 4.5 stars, right? So it means that you can find an opportunity to sell potentially a more expensive product, right? So let's say, for example, you see a subcategory where products are selling for, on average, let's say $25, right? Now, all of those products are 3.7 stars out of 5, or a lot of those products are 3.7, 3.8 stars out of 5. Now, you can see because a lot of these popular products are only 3.8 stars out of 5, and they're priced at $25, you could potentially come in with a 5-star product and charge $35 for it, right? Now, that opportunity is not only giving you the chance to outshine your competition by having better reviews and a better overall product, but also it means you can charge more for that premium as well, right? Because everyone else seems to be selling a crap product. You've got a better product, so you can charge a higher price. So that can really give you some really, really nice insights into the opportunities that are around, especially within the AI product insights and AI product improvements as well, right? Now, with the next part that we're looking at is the product and niche scores. So these product and niche scores are evaluated out of 10, and it's going to tell you basically using again a mixture of a few different metrics which are not necessarily so accessible on the front end of Amazon Marketplace. It's going to tell you how many different offerings are there for a product and how many people are searching for those products, right? So it's going to amalgamate some of the information of how many people are searching for those products versus how many offerings there are to see is there high competition versus demand on a ratio, right? And using that ratio, it comes up with your product and niche scores. And that again is very, very useful because it actually really knocks out a lot of the trial and error involved of private label and actually doing this through AMZScout. So it means you can save a lot more money doing this too, right? And also, by the way, when you have a few different product ideas, it means you can actually test the quality of those ideas or compare the quality of those ideas without actually testing them out in real life, right? So because as I said earlier, when you find a product idea, you have no idea whether it's going to work out in real life or not until you test the product out. This is going to give you a bit of an insight to that, in that, sure, you still should test out the product in real life. However, the product and niche scores will give you a rough gauge as to which are the better products and which are the worst products in terms of opportunity, right? Now, with this, as you go through some of the results that you are seeing on the AMZScout app, what you're going to find is along those results, there will also be a few potential suppliers that can be found for that product, right? So what AMZScout Pro AI extension will be doing for you is it will be taking images of those products that it can see on Amazon, and it will be running them through a reverse image search to find those same kind of products on Alibaba and connect you with the suppliers, right? So it does that hunting for you. Now, the other thing to consider with that is do make sure that when you find those suppliers, that you do vet them carefully, right? So the Pro AI extension is absolutely amazing at cutting down the work, but this still does need a little bit of human action to make sure you're doing this correctly, right? Because when it comes to finding suppliers, you want to make sure a few basic things are met, right? So the first thing that when it comes to finding suppliers, by the way, that I'm going to add these tips on, by the way, when we go through this demo later on through the AMZ Scout web app. But what you are going to find is on Alibaba, particularly suppliers from USA, China, and anywhere else, there'll be many, many different ages of suppliers, right? There'll be some suppliers who are only a year old. There'll be some suppliers who are 30 years old, right? I think the oldest supplier I've seen is like 25, 30 years old. So when you find a supplier, you want to be looking for a supplier who has been in business for a minimum of 3 years, right? So a trade assured supplier on Alibaba, normally at the bottom it will say how many years they've been a trade assured supplier. You want to make sure that they are trade assured for 3 years minimum. The reason you don't want to go for a supplier who's younger than 3 years is naturally they're likely to be a bit more inexperienced, a bit less well equipped to deal with a lot of queries, possibly less staffed. So for that reason, we want a company that's minimum 3 years and older, right? Now, the other thing as well is once you start contacting that supplier, what you want to do is make sure that supplier has good English and communication skills, right? Because when you are asking for specific things with your stock, for example, when you want to apply particular FNSKU kit labels or particular barcode labels, GTINs, what have you, and you want to put slips inside the box, whatever it may be, you want to be making sure that the supplier understands what you're saying properly, right? You want to be confident. The last thing you want to be doing is order a product from a supplier and then it takes a month to come in and you're biting your nails for the whole month hoping that that's going to be right in the way that you hoped it would be, right? when your supplier understands English well, you're going to be a lot more confident in the quality of the work that they're doing, right? And you're going to make sure they're going to be getting particulars correct. So with that Pro AI extension, when you're looking for the suppliers, do make sure you double check what you're actually coming across on the Alibaba platform, right? Now, the next thing to start considering will, of course, be the product database, right? This will allow you to search through the products using categories rather than using words, because words are specific, but categories are not. So with the product database, you can actually use lots of different filters to refine what kind of product subcategories that you want to be looking at, because there are a lot of subcategories that are not appropriate for you to be launching your own product in. So for example, if you're looking to launch a private label business, probably digital music isn't a relevant product subcategory to be researching it, right? There are also a lot of subcategories that are complicated. They've got a lot of red tape around them and have high return rates and a lot of compliance to be dealing with, right? So I'm going to go through those shortly when we do this demonstration. But that product database helps you actually select which ones you want and which ones you don't, right? And that is very, very helpful. Now, once you've selected categories, you can also start selecting other metrics about the products that you're looking for, right? So for example, you can make sure that you're only seeing results for products that are selling very, very well. So minimum search volumes and minimum revenues. And you can also make sure that you're not looking at products that have tons and tons of sellers. So minimum numbers of sellers and also maximum numbers of reviews, right? So for example, it's difficult for you to do some research on launching a product when the product that you're comparing yourself to or comparing your new launch to already has 17,000 reviews, right? There's no point in trying to launch against that competitor. And you're more likely to actually be comparing yourself to a competitor. And that's more likely to be valid data if the competitor has less than 1,000 reviews, right? So we really want to be using these filters quite tightly to make sure we're really seeing the kind of product that we actually want to be coming across, right? Now, with that, I'm going to be moving on to the demo in just a second, and that's where things will get a little bit more interesting. But the final thing that you want to be also noting is a really, really useful thing within the AMZScout toolkit is the keyword search and reverse ASIN lookup, right? So what that means is you can start understanding, firstly, what kind of search volumes are associated with particular products, right? So for example, let's say you want to know whether tea towels are more popular than bath towels, right? How do we know? How would we possibly know whether more people are searching for tea towels or bath towels? We don't, right? However, the best way to do that is reverse ASIN lookups. And with reverse ASIN lookups, you'll be able to see the search volumes on particular words. So for example, if you find that on tea towels, the search volume is 100,000, whereas on bath towels, your search volume is only 50,000, you know that tea towels are far more popular than bath towels. And you know that if you're looking to sell bath towels or tea towels are probably things that are in more demand, right? So this will help you actually start to gauge demand for different types of products. But the other thing this will help you do, once you are launching your product on Amazon, this will still come in handy because you are able to find keywords for your product, right? Now, the best way to use this tool is to find your most similar competitor. So let's say you've decided to sell a very particular kind of product. Let's say you're selling, I know this is a bad example, but a particular kind of water bottle, right? I would rather you didn't sell water bottles because it's one of those things that's just too simple and obvious that everyone thinks of. But let's say, for example, you're selling a very particular type of water bottle. The best way to find keywords for that water bottle is find another product on Amazon that is as similar to yours as possible, but doing very, very well, and do a reverse ASIN lookup to see what keywords are most likely to lead buyers to that product, right? Because if you use the same keywords for your product, you're likely to get a very similar type of traffic and then make sales in terms of actually presenting yourself to the right kind of customers who are actually looking for your product, right? Now, what we're going to go into next is the demonstration, right? The exciting bit about what we're doing here. What we're doing here is particularly using AMZScout to show you how to find products, particularly for Amazon private label, right? And this is to not only help you get to finding those products for Amazon private label, but then to use those products to leverage onto another product and another product and another product. And that is what's going to take you to £10,000, sorry, $10,000 per month selling on Amazon FBA, right? Now, the crazy thing about selling £10,000 worth of stuff on Amazon every single month is that sounds like a lot of money. It sounds quite difficult. Now, what I will tell you is it is relatively easy to find three different products which are making or doing £3,000 each in sales on Amazon per month, which makes $9,000, right? It's far easier to find three products doing £3,000 a month in sales than finding one product doing £10,000 a month in sales, right? So £10,000 a month is actually relatively easy to get to. And it doesn't require just one winning product, which does all of the heavy lifting for you, right? You can actually do this over a few different products. And in fact, if anything, I would almost prefer you to do it over three products instead of one. Because when you've got one product making you £10,000 a month in sales on Amazon, you've got a single point of failure. Whereas when you've got three, if one goes down, you still have another two, right? So with this, sure, be looking for one product which will help you make £10,000 a month on Amazon. However, don't turn your nose up at the other smaller revenue products because adding those together will also make you £10,000 a month selling on Amazon. However, it will give you more failure points, which means you're less likely to be taken out by one problem. Now, so using the AMZScout product database. So the first thing we're actually going to start doing is we are going to look for a private label product using the database search, right? And we're going to do this through the USA marketplace. Now, the first thing we are going to do is click more filters, right? Because the more filters you have, the more specific that you can get with this view that you're looking at, right? Now, one mistake that I made one of the first times I was using this, and I put in all of my inputs into these filters here, and I was wondering why almost no results came up. It's because these two things are ticked, right? You don't want to be looking for trending products because the thing about trending products is they're trending, right? They're trending now, but later on something else will be trending and something else will be trending and something else will be trending. Trending products are not a good idea, right? So avoid trending products. We want evergreen products. Evergreen products and trending products are very, very different things, right? So for example, a pencil case is an evergreen product. A fidget spinner is a trending product, right? So we're looking for evergreen products, not trending products. So let's untick this. Now, the other thing to consider is new products. Are we really bothered whether these products are new or old? What you find is quite often with new products, those are the kinds of products that everyone tends to flock to, and they forget about some of the slightly more simple ideas and slightly more obvious ideas. So definitely we want to be actually finding products that are not necessarily only new. Now we are sharing the right tab. So just to actually refresh on what I just did there. So once you've logged into the AMZScout product database here, what you're going to do is you are going to click on product research and product database. So from product database, when we are looking at it through the 24 categories here, what we're going to do is click more filters. And once we are at this page, as I was saying before, you want to unclick trending products, right? So the very first thing, you want to untick trending products and you want to untick new products. With the AMZScout product database, once you're here, you're going to click on more filters, which was a button up here. And from advanced here, you're going to untick trending products and untick new products, right? Now, once you have done that, on the 24 categories here, you are not going to tick all of these categories, right? Because a lot of these categories are not things where there are necessarily good opportunities for private label. And a lot of these subcategories or categories, sorry, are going to be very, very complicated kind of products and, just not necessarily relevant, right? So for example, certain irrelevant categories, for example, media categories, the first thing you want to start unticking, digital music, books, Kindle store, any other kind of media products, not really, right? Now, what I'd actually rather you do is clear all of these to begin with, right? It's much easier to do it this way. Now, from here, you want to be selecting my recommendation of the product subcategory to go with will go like this. So I recommend baby products, pet supplies, toys and games, arts, craft and sewing, health and household, office products, sports, outdoors and fitness, automotive tools and equipment, electronics, computer and accessories, home kitchen and dining, patio, lawn and garden, tools and home improvement, and others, right? So if guys, you want to make a note of this, these are the ones that you want to be ticking, right? The reason we're not going for a lot of these is some of these are media categories, which, we're looking to sell physical products, and other of them can be very, very specific and very, very difficult to find offerings for. So for example, collectibles and fine art, I don't think you're going to have easily products to sell for that. Things like beauty and personal care, there can be a lot of red tape around them. So you want to kind of avoid those. Again, same with video games. I think that the kind of things that you can get for video games are quite limited, and they tend to be quite bulky or expensive items as well. Again, very, very, very similar type of thing for musical instruments. Again, very particular types of things and tend to be quite big. Industrial and scientific. I can't think of a kind of product that would even be in this category, but again, something super specific that you don't really want to be selling. Now, grocery and gourmet food, I have heard of people doing well selling in these categories. However, I've heard of more people messing up in these categories than doing well in them, right? So, just for statistical experience, I would say that more people fail in this category than succeed, right? Clothing, shoes, and jewelry are things which, again, I don't recommend simply because you're going to have so many variations of all of these products. There are going to be a lot of returns. And also, what you find, especially with clothing, you have to make a lot of units as a minimum order, right? So whenever you've got like a custom brand of t-shirts, for example, you're going to struggle to test them out in, sample orders of 20 or 30. You're going to end up having to buy hundreds or even thousands, right? It's very, very difficult to get into clothing, shoes, and jewelry. And this tends to be one of the most populated categories and most competitive categories as well. So that's the other reason why I tend to avoid that category. The other reason why we avoid appliances, quite simply put, these tend to be very large items and very expensive items and have a lot of red tape, right? These are all three things that we definitely want to avoid, right? So to go through this again, the 13 categories that you want to be selecting are baby products, pet supplies, toys and games, arts, craft and sewing, health and household, office products, sports, outdoors and fitness, automotive, tools and equipment, electronics, computers, accessories, home, kitchen and dining, patio, lawn and garden, tools and home improvement, and other, right? So you're just going to apply that now. Now, in terms of keywords, we don't need anything specific. Excluding keywords, again, we don't need anything specific. Now, if you guys have got a good memory, hopefully you'll be remembering the price points we're looking to actually search between. So hopefully you remember that is between $15 and $35, right? And hopefully you guys remember the number of reviews we want this good example to have fewer than, and that is less than 1,000, right? So here we don't have to put in a minimum number. It's literally 0 to 1,000. Now, with that, you could also start really crunching down your results by putting in fewer reviews here, right? So for example, if you were to look for a product that has no more than 100 reviews rather than 1,000, then you're going to see some different results and some slightly more refined results, right? But for now, for this example, we're going to stick to 1,000. We might even do this example again with 100 if we get the chance to, right? Now, when it comes to estimated sales, we want a product that's got an estimated sales of a minimum of $8,000, right? Now, with that, the reason we are selecting $8,000 minimum is because that is going to give us an idea of the kind of products that sell in high volumes, right? It's going to be impossible to sift through everything if we're sifting through things that have low sales volumes. So we're making sure that the estimated sales volume of this product is 8,000. By the way, that's estimated sales revenue. Sorry, my mistake there. Sales revenue. The estimated sales, to be honest, that doesn't matter too much because we're focusing here on revenue. Because our price range is right and our revenue is right, that is mainly what we're looking for, right? So by the way, don't make that little mistake that I made there by misreading. Estimated sales, you can leave that blank. You actually want to be putting $8,000 in estimated revenue, right? That is the amount of money in sales that you're looking to be that you're looking for products to be making as a minimum, right? Now, when it comes to seller type, you are wanting to be ticking FBA and merchant. You do not want to be looking for products that Amazon are also selling because even if it's a private label product, you don't want to be competing against Amazon because Amazon's search ranking algorithm will always favor themselves over you, right? And for that very basic reason, you just don't want to be looking at products that Amazon's selling. You're looking for other third-party sellers just like yourself, right? And those will be FBA and merchant offers. So you can click apply here. Now, product tier, you're looking for standard because again, you don't want oversized. Big, large products are going to cost a lot to ship from your supplier to yourself or to Amazon's FBA warehouses. It's going to cost a lot to store. And as well, you're not going to get many units per shipment. So, for example, if you're selling lawnmowers, how many units of lawnmowers are you going to get on a standard pallet? Not as many units as you would get of flashlights, for example, right? So you want to make sure that the product is standard sized. Don't make the same mistake that I've made in trying to sell large items because it just never works out. Right? It's a real headache. Now, the weight we're looking for is something that is less than £3. Right? In the UK, normally we say that's normally something less than about 2 kilos or 2.8 pounds. Now, we're looking for something that is weighing less than £3 roughly. Right? Again, this is about size and weight. If something is weighing too much, it's going to be expensive to ship, expensive to probably store because it's going to be larger, and it's going to be expensive to ship out to all of your customers as well, right? Now, rank, we can leave that blank. Estimated revenue, we've already put that in at $8,000 to avoid us looking at any products that have too low of a revenue. Now, this is another important thing you need to look at is number of sellers, right? This needs to be from 1 to 1, right? Because we are looking at pure private label products. The issue, if you do not put in 1 and 1 here, is you may end up seeing products that are doing really well, abiding by all of these filters, but have 5 sellers, right? And that is essentially a listing on Amazon which has loads and loads of competitive offers on it, which you don't want. You're looking for your own product, right? Now, once we've typed in all of these filters here, the next thing we're going to do, by the way, you can save these filters as well to make your searching easier as you go forward. The next thing we're going to do is find products. We can see some good results here already. Now, by the way, you can change your view, of course, to a grid view so that you can see more results in one place. You can also change your view from here so that you can see different filters here. So you can get rid of certain things that are irrelevant. So for example, score for reselling, because we're doing private label here, we're not looking to resell. You can untick that, right? As an example. Now, if we just go back to this series of results here. Now, in this view, I actually personally prefer using this view myself. Although here we've got to scroll along. So just for this demo, actually, to keep this clear, let's do this way. Now here you can see the first thing on all of these products that is quite impressive are the estimated sales revenue, right? And these are the monthly sales. So, you can see there are some very impressive numbers here. This product here is doing almost £13,000 a month, and it's a purple color correcting whitening toothpaste. Now, if you guys remember, we've said that, beauty products tend to be having a lot of red tape around them and they tend to be quite complicated to sell. So this is not something that we're wanting to be looking for. And this is something that's likely coming through this filter here, right? So if you find that through your search results that some of these results are a little inappropriate or outside the bounds of what you're looking for, you can always come back up here and untick them, and that will actually refine down the results that you're seeing here, right? Now, if we look at this next result, this is actually quite a good product, right? As you can see here, it is something that is doing $200,000 in sales per month, which is absolutely amazing, right? It's only weighing 1 pound, so it's really small, easy, and light to send out. And it's only got 971 reviews, right? So it's not even got 1,000 reviews, yet it's doing $200,000 in sales every single month. This is a really nice idea. So once you're here, once you're on an Amazon seller page, by the way, it doesn't have to be on just one page. There could be loads of products on a page. You're going to click the AMZScout Chrome extension logo up here, right? And up here, you're just going to click skip here, just get rid of that. What you're going to find is it's going to give you all of these details that you saw here on this page here. Now, as you go through this, you can see some of the analytics here. So this has got a sales rank of 403, which is very, very good. Now, if you guys don't know already, just to give you a little background on sales rank or BSR. So this is your best sellers rank or BSR, right? So your BSR, also known as I say, best sellers rank, is kind of like your position in a race as to your best product selling on Amazon, right? So for example, the lower a BSR is, the better the product is. The higher the BSR is, the worse the product is, right? So kind of, as I say, like a position in a race. If you're in position number 1, you're doing better than the guy who's in position number 20, right? So BSRs, you're always looking for low BSR numbers. Now, generally, we consider anything under the number of 25,000 to be a good BSR. So this is absolutely amazing. It's 403, right? Now, through this web app here, what you're going to also be able to see through more actions here, when you click on this, sorry, let me switch back to the tab. So, sorry, once you're here, when you are at your product, what you are going to do is click on this fees tab here, right? This will help you to see what kind of profits you can expect from this product. So as an example, if you put in your product price, so what you're going to be selling it for, and your product cost, you'll have a very, very good idea of what kind of estimated profit you would make in terms of the monthly sales revenue, but also per unit as well, right? So for example, let's say this product was selling at $19.99, right? Now let's say your cost for this product was $5, right? Now, what you'll find is your profit margin now is $6.99. So that is your profit per unit after your FBA fee and Amazon fee is taken, right? So as you can see here, there's a complete full breakdown here, right? So because this product is weighing 1 pound, that is going to determine what your fulfillment fee will be, which is standard size, $4.84. But it also remembers to include your referral fee, right? A lot of people will work out their FBA fees but forget the referral fee. You are going to be charged a fulfillment fee and a referral fee, and this calculator is not going to forget that, right? So these numbers together will tell you exactly what the cost of each sale will be and tell you exactly what your total profit will be, right? So this will be your cost of sales, and this will be your profit left at the end. So this is a really, really good calculator, right? Now, as you flick through all of these results, these are just the first few results that we've actually found here. Now, what I'm going to do here is open up the results that I actually think are the best, right? Now, with that, you can actually add them to your favorites. So for example, I'm going to add this one to my favorites because I think this is actually quite a nice idea. I'm also going to add this one to my favorites because I think that is a crazy number, $260,000 almost every month. That is very, very good. It's less than £3. And I mean, look at this. This is actually amazing here. So this product, it is doing almost $260,000 in sales every single month. It's priced at $29.99. And what you can see here is it only has 516 reviews, sorry. So that might sound like a lot of reviews, but again, anything less than 1,000 is actually not that many reviews, right? I've got many ASINs that have thousands and thousands of reviews on them, and it really didn't take very long at all to get 1,000 reviews onto my ASINs. So to have 500 reviews is not a crazy number, right? That is not many reviews, and it's got a low rating, right? So it's got a low number of reviews and not the highest rating. Okay, that's not a low rating, but it's not the best rating, right? It's below 4.4. So a low number of reviews, a mediocre rating. It's got one seller, it's lightweight, and it's doing these kind of numbers, right? So this is a really nice product to be looking at. Now, again, we'll open this up as another example. Now that this page is loading, the first thing I'm sure you guys will notice is while we know that this product is doing almost $260,000 in sales every single month, look at this. It's not even got all 5 stars filled in. Sorry, I think I've just clicked somewhere else. It's not even got all 5 stars filled in. As a display, this is displaying as 4 out of 5 stars. Now, of course, it has a 4.2 rating, but this is looking like 4 out of 5 stars in terms of the way this is presented, right? And it's only got 516 ratings. Despite all of that, this is doing very, very well. As I say, doing almost $260,000 in sales every single month, right? Now, as you can see, looking through this product page, this is not super complicated, right? This is not a complicated product. It is not a massive product. It is not an expensive product. It hits those 3 considerations that we mentioned earlier. And again, just to remind you guys, again, we're looking for something that's not so simple and obvious that everyone's thought of it. So again, I bet if I asked you guys to think of a product to start selling on Amazon, this would not have been the first kind of product that you thought of, right? So it's not so simple and obvious that everyone thought of it. It's not so complicated. It's likely to go wrong and be returned. You know, there are no cameras, no speakers, no internet capabilities of this product. And again, it retails for between $15 and $35, right? Again, perfect product here, right? Excellent example that we can see here. Now, this is actually a really, really good example. I really like this product. I would actually, consider sampling this product and selling on Amazon myself, right? So let's say that was actually the approach I was going to be taking. So we're going to be selling this product on Amazon ourselves. Now, what we do is go back to the AMZScout web app, and I've just switched back to that tab so hopefully you guys can see that. Now, what we're going to do here is just get rid of that banner, and we're going to go to more actions, and from the more actions drop down tab, we're going to click find on Alibaba. And essentially what AMZScout has done is a reverse image search through Alibaba to find similar selling products, right? That are already selling, as I say, on Alibaba. Now, with that, as I say, as you can see here, we've got a $5 product here, right? So very similar to that initial estimation that we made earlier for this product here of it being about $5. So let's say, for example, this product here is, between $5 and $10. So let's call this $7, right? Including shipping, let's call this, in fact, let's even call it $8, right? So going back to the AMZScout web app, here we're going to be selling this for $29.99 and our product cost is going to be $8. Now, as we put that in, Amazon is going to crunch all of those numbers for you. And by the way, if you're not using inches and pounds, if you're using the metric system or imperial system, whichever you're using, you can switch to centimeters and kilos. So that's only 120 grams, or also known as 0.26 pounds, very, very light. And that will leave you with a profit per unit of $13.29, right? And that is a very, very good profit margin. Now, even if this product were to cost $10, you're still left with a profit of $11.29. So really, you can put in $10 and get back more than you put in, right? And that is absolutely excellent, right? So this is a really, really nice product to actually start selling with. And to be honest, using AMZScout, what I've done here in front of you guys on this Zoom screen share, you can use these very results to come back to this kind of product that we found on Alibaba. So again, just to share this here, you can literally come back here, contact one of these suppliers, whoever's going to give you the cheapest units, who's got the best communication skills. Find a supplier from there, start ordering samples, and as we can see from these results on AMZScout here, it is a product that is very, very popular and has great demand. And even if you've not got the best reviews or the highest number of reviews, you are still in with a chance of doing almost $260,000 a month selling this product, right? So this is a really, really good product to actually be selling. This is definitely something that I'd recommend. Now, the last thing to quickly show you here is going to be looking at the reverse ASIN lookup, right? So what we're going to do is copy the ASIN of the product that we're interested in. So this ASIN here. And then what we're going to do from here is keywords and listing. As you hover over here, you're going to do reverse ASIN lookup 2.0. And you're going to paste in your ASIN right here and find keywords. Now, this is going to tell you exactly how popular this product is in terms of keywords, and you can order it by keywords as well. So for example, the most keywords that lead to this product tend to be dog or mascotas, dog supply, pet supplies for dogs. So now you know of a few keywords to start putting into your Amazon product listing to actually start driving traffic to your product, and also some good keywords to start using for your PPC campaigns. So there's a much less room for errors and much less money potentially being wasted.